This episode is sponsored by the Wooster Brush Company, Purdy Professional Painting Tools, Hyde, and Graco.
It's very cool. Well, I love that you kind of give us the whole backstory on it and obviously why it's impressive. And, as you were talking through that, I thought of a couple of things, one being, I think your employees can have a much greater impact when they know what's expected of them, right? I think that's one common thing I see working with a lot of business owners is, like you said, the employees kind of get thrown into it and just get thrown to the wolves to figure it out, right? They don't know what's expected of them. They don't know how to do it. There's no process documented on what to do and how to do it, right? And so I think that makes it very tough. I think that it makes it very, tough on the employees. I always tell people, like, think back to when you were an employee at a job. I don't care if you were waiting tables in college, what you were doing, you probably performed better when you knew what was expected of you, right? And so I think that that's a huge piece of it. My wife and I were actually watching some Shark Tank last night. I love watching that show. Yep. And there was somebody on there had a really great idea, but it was a very much like he was the brand, he was the business, and this type of stuff. And Kevin, which he's probably my least of the favorite, Mr. Not Wonderful, said the thing. He said, "Hey, listen, if we partner on this," he said, "I'm going to take out a life insurance policy on you, and I need you to be okay with this because," he said, "if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, my money's gone." Right. And it kind of the analogy, you were talking about is like, if you don't have the systems and the processes in place, if something happens to you, even if you were in the hospital for 2 weeks, what happens to your business, right? Does your business shut down? Do your employees go, like, what happens with that? And we just, the episode we did last week, we talked about, we did a top 5 book review list. And, one of them I talked about was The Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. And he says, go on vacation for a month and see if you have a self-employed business or see if you have a business system, right? And so I think it's very important with what you guys do with business owners to have those documented SOPs and the procedures and the training to where the business owner shouldn't be the magic, right? And I think a lot of people struggle with that. I always call it the entrepreneurial ego, right? Like, you become a business owner and all of a sudden you're like, well, it's up to me, right? Like, I want to be the go-to person for everything, and really you shouldn't be. And I think that's where you guys kind of come in to help put all those processes in place.
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it right on the head. I mean, it's, do you have a job or do you have a business? And if you're constantly working in the business, you are the business, you're the only one that can actually move the business going forward. You don't have the ability to take off a month for vacation. And if you do, operations are just going to grind to a halt. Well, more than likely you have a job. You might actually own a business, but the business is not going to work without you. And so super important to be able to actually really implement those processes and systems in place to be able to effectively remove yourself from the daily operations so that the business can actually exist without you.
To watch the full episode, download Overdrive, now available on the App Store and Google Play.